Welcome back for the final game of the day where TSM Academy faces off against Immortals Academy. I'm still Pastry Time, he is still Coco the Dragon, and it's been a fun day, man. I'm very excited to see how Week 8 of Academy finally finishes out.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how Immortals and TSM are going to be closing out this Week 8 because you look at how TSM has been performing. They're one of those teams that has been lower echelon, slowly moving up through the ranks, have been finding their identity, where Immortals has been surprisingly popping off left and right, but has some issues of inconsistency.
Yeah, it feels like Immortals have been on a bit of a slide recently, but they've been kind of more, more of a roller coaster. You never really know what you're going to get with an Immortals game. TSM have been the picture of consistency if you consider that they've gone 1-1 every single week. They do have an opportunity to change that, though, as they did win yesterday. So history says they'll lose this game, but maybe they can hit the 2-0.
Well, and truly, like, against Immortals, this is probably the best chance you have to get that 2-0 series, because Immortals is in that same thing. They're in a little bit of a slump, but they are also one of those teams that struggles here and there with consistency. But for me, I want to look at how well Lost and Treats are going to be doing with each other. But on that top end for Immortals, Alorum has been hot. Like, he's been also a little bit of a concern for me for their windows.
Alorum is like Alum's such a fun player to watch.
Yeah.
But I feel like, for all of the cool counter picks and times where he, finds a foothold in the lane and really takes over, he also has some games where he's just kind of hanging out, He's doing fine.
And it's like his personality, and that's what I love about him, is like he'll just vibe when he needs to vibe, and it's just good times, but he's also the player that's most prone to those cliche fun picks, like the ones like the Nico top where you just go absolutely crazy. It could pop off, but sometimes it's just not as successful, as the bans so far through this draft have been fairly cliche in this first round.
Very standard here. Kalista, Syndra, Tankenge, and Senna. The first four, as IMTA are lining up their third ban for Phase 1. Also, I know Dokla is very excited for Wukong, but that of course is not in this patch. That's 10.6, this is 10.5, so certainly you could see real Wukong bans specifically against Alorum once the patch shifts over, if there will indeed be the patch change before we hit playoffs. But for now, we'll have to wait to whet our appetites, and I know Alorum's very excited for that pick, but we shall see.
Yeah, I've been watching his Twitter. He's
popping off.
Very interested on how those progress is going. Like, the one thing that we'd have to say is that he's probably going to pull it out if it's enabled. So that's really just a question of concern. But now, speaking of things that were enabled, Orange still got through the draft this time around, so it is in the considerations. Mortals decided to pick it up, but we don't know where it'll be placed just yet. As for me, I want TSM to actually really synergize with their bottom lane right now. Like, I want to see if they can step it up, get something very synchronized, like say Zyra Khan, who can do fairly well in all situations and every time in the game, or maybe something a little bit more standard like Nautilus Misfortune.
Hey, there's maybe the Misfortune half of that equation. Yuumi Aphelios with a final ban, so Ornn, MF, and one more to come through now for TSM. We'll see if they do want to take the Nautilus now, or if maybe they feel comfortable taking it a bit later. We'll see. Certainly plenty of options open here for TSM, but I was going to joke about this because Treats is such a Braum player, but he's picked Bomb already, so not a champion that a lot of supports are playing right now, but this is a champion that he has played so much and he's so comfortable with. So I feel like when there's opportunities to take it, might as well pick it up.
Right? Like, it's one of those same things. Like, it's that comfort pick. But thankfully, unlike Graves, like last game, you don't really need to play around Braum. Braum plays around you. He helps you out when you can. And the only issue is that he's just not as strong as the other tanky supports in the current meta. But he still has his place in every scenario. But so far we do see Rek'Sai and Zoe being taken up as well for Immortals, something that Zoe as well being fairly consistent in providing a lot of harassment and neutralizing laning phase as well, so might be helpful to have that Zoe in your back pocket when Potluck decides to invade.
Of note, Braum also good against Misfortune and against Ornn, so kind of insulates some of that there. So there is other reasons why Treats is playing this champion. I legitimately was just going to make a joke about it when they were picking, and then he instantly picked Braum, so I just thought it was amusing. Rek'Sai for Potluck, though, is certainly a pick he has played countless times so far this split, and Zoe, kind of the pick du jour in a lot of ways. Like, has gotten through a lot of drafts. I feel like was such a high presence mid laner in previous patches, and now teams are going a little bit more away from her. But when we've seen Zoe today, she has done ridiculous things to people. So Insanity gonna try and channel some of that energy today.
Yeah, you're gonna get some Gyu vibes going on because it's just how dominant you want to be. And I think that's the thing too, that Zoe comes into your mind when you're thinking who is the most obnoxious person to deal with when they're ahead as a mid laner, and it's almost Zoe 100% of the time. But it's also the question of who's the easiest champion to deal with when they are behind. And honestly, I'd say Zoe as well. Like when Zoe falls behind, you can really feel it, and it's that problem of needing to have that space and time of confidence to get that one ahead. And someone who has that stability is someone like Gangplank, who just need to farm up, need to get to your 3-4 items, and then you can really feel that power as the final phase of drafting and banning is starting to come into fruition.
Yeah, Ezreal Rakan for bot laners being banned away for TSM, and then Sejuani Gragas for the junglers taken away from IMT. So we'll see where Speaker does want to go. Known more for his aggressive junglers, but has obviously been playing tanks as well, because the meta has kind of brought some of those back in. And also an early AZ here for Evolved is interesting.
Okay, so you're leaving your 2 solo lanes open right now. You went with the Gangplank, of course, in that top side for Dokla, but you're wanting to hold on to your counter pick for your jungle, not in the sense of like, oh, we're going to use it as like a solo integrity, but it's for more of that team condition finalization, right? Like you're wanting to see, okay, maybe we need more of an assassin fighter for those early mid-game composition and skirmishes, or we need someone more for this late game to just sort of help zone all of this scrappiness that Immortals is throwing out. So it's really just what they're trying to see, as Varus and Thresh are the ones that are grabbed up.
Yeah, kind of a weird draft in the sense that like teams, I feel like the teams basically ignored each other about as far as like what they were picking and just picked what they wanted to play. So TSM's actually counterpicked quite a few of these lanes. Bot lane was one of the places they didn't get to do that, which is why Altek and Gate took their lane so early. But as you mentioned, one of the only counterpicks they had left was for jungle, so eventually they'll settle on Trundle because they already knew that Zoe was going to be the matchup there for Evolved. Curious to see how the mid lane shakes out. Insanity has had some pretty good games. Evolved has kind of eased his way into the season, but I think he's on the rise and certainly is a player that people are excited to watch. But I always wonder what players are going to do against Zoe, because every pick I see, I feel like it doesn't work. So I don't know if Zoe just doesn't have a counter pick that's good enough, or even if it's good, it's not pickable because the meta won't allow it, or if like he actually just splits every matchup and you have to deal with the thing she brings to the actual map rather than the lane itself. So I don't think Azir's clearly not it, and it's a counter pick to smash the lane, but clearly they wanted to pick something that was good for their team and that fit into the style they wanted to play, and certainly a lot of control mages have been the call for Evolve, so he's happy to take Azir here.
Yeah, like it's something where you could always think of, hey, well, maybe Yasuo counters Zoe, but the thing is, if you want to play Yasuo, you need to play a Gragas Yasuo or have some sort of setup and play that around, and that will cause issues, especially when, unlike this game for Immortals and TSM, that they just sort of drafted separately and picked what they wanted. When you play Yasuo Gragas, you have to consider what the opposing team has, so those sort of scenarios where Zoe just sort of nullifies that out and makes it a little bit more complicated to draft against is really what Immortals was able to bet on and succeed with. So going into this game, it's just a sense of really applying it to paper and throwing it into action.
Yeah, these are very standard comps, I would say, for both these teams. So I guess we'll be looking at how they, play, especially in the mid game when they start to ramp up and pick up some items. Because, this isn't, this is a very, we need this win draft, I feel like, from Immortals, where they're like, we can't really afford to lose. We're very close to TSM in the standings. We lost yesterday. We pulled out some of the, more creative stuff. Don't really want to do that here against TSM. And I think TSM is saying the same thing. Let's pick something nice and shelf stable, something that's not going to go bad. We're going to be at home waiting for a long time potentially. So just wanting to make sure that, they're comfortable, because they know that the standings is getting really close around the areas they're sitting in. And TSM would love to be 2 wins ahead of Immortals rather than tied with them and potentially playing a tiebreaker again towards the end of the season.
Of course, we don't want any of that. If you can have as much time off to prepare for the playoffs, that's exactly what Immortals or TSM would want. But, at this time around, it's really just game time. Get that win. Focus on right now, right here, and make sure that you're able to play up to par of what you expect for your performance. And
you mentioned it already, but bottom lane certainly something we'll be looking for, particularly on the TSM side. It does feel like Lost in Treats should be an excellent bot lane in this league. And for whatever reason, they have not really been able to figure it out. So, Turn Protector's over. I almost forgot about the delay, but we'll have a 5-minute break while we build up a delay for competitive integrity. Having so much fun talking, we'll do more of that right after this.
And they say I have a grim sense of humor.
Welcome back! Hope you enjoyed our little 5-minute break as we again do have to build up delay for competitive integrity, but it has been fun so far. We're about to jump into our last game, Coco. It is IMTA Academy versus TSM Academy for what is a pretty critical game in this Academy season.
Oh, for sure. The fact that you're only one game apart in both wins and losses, and that if Immortals takes us, TSM is prone to possibly play another game for tiebreakers next week, which, you know, looking at that next week as well, with sort of all the consequences that have flown out, you actually have a good number of tiebreakers up for possibilities.
Oh yeah, we've had ties for a long time in Academy.
Oh yeah,
But we're starting to break a few of them. It feels like the top 3, 4 of the standings is maybe solidifying, but certainly lots of business to attend to here in this game as Lost and Treats do try something a little early, as Evolved and Insanity also getting involved in the early stages of the game. But based on the comps that we've drafted, a lot of comfort for these two teams, not a lot of aggression. So I'm expecting a pretty deliberately paced game between these two teams. Because again, I think they understand, how important this single game is to their season.
Yeah, there's also a little bit of a change up for the Orns as well. We have seen Unsealed Spellbook be the fairly common one, but Alarm decided, you know what, I want Grasp of the Undying instead, as a matter of fact, as he does spot out that Speaker and Dokla are looking to steal the blue buff here on top of that. So a little bit of chaos already starting out with these Immortals TSM's games. Nothing too surprising, but always fun to see it happen.
Lauren going to get the info. I like the play there from TSM, but this should prompt Potluck to go pretty quickly over towards the enemy blue, so we'll see what Speaker does decide to do. As we can see, he's going to go over to the Grump, so he's just saying, okay, I'm happy to split the map vertically and make sure we get an equal number of camps. And Potluck, I think, is not in a rush either by the looks of things. He's already at the Raptor camp.
Yeah. I think they're just, with the vertical jungling, it just comes into a sense of which lane they're going to be prioritizing. And Spica, I think it's just more of a fact that he wants to power farm as fast as possible, because he's already down to the wolf camps. And when you look at the different sides of like red buff campsite and then blue buff campsite actually has a little bit weaker of a health bar pool for the jungle. So you can clear it a lot faster than your red side, which means he might be able to actually catch up and get to blue and cut off Potluck, but decides, you know what, I'm just going to do the full-on vertical investment instead and invest that late game farming for a later time.
I mean, they've got no info, so as far as they're concerned, Potluck's already taken that blue potentially, right?
Yeah.
So, it is funny that both junglers are just full clearing the sides they're on, and now they're moving over. So we'll see if there is potentially any information got on either side as Red has finished the Speaker. Also a stun there for Gate, who's taking the tower shots. Flash! Oh no, that's enough, and we wanted the bot lane to step up for TSM Academy, but Gate just gifts the kill over.
Yeah, TSM's turret stepped up in this game, already popping off with that one, getting first blood, thankfully giving it over to Lost so the gold actually goes somewhere. But the fact that you were already that far ahead and like in the lane for Gate, but oh geez, Evolved also in trouble.
Oh, Evolved almost gonna get crushed down by Insanity, needs to be careful, and that's the pop enough there with the sparkles to get the kill, and Evolved uses Flash and Cleanse and still dies 1v1.
Oh, but it means Speaker gets greedy.
Yeah, Speaker thinking there's nothing there, now gonna have to flash out, the bubble will not connect. But Potluck, a really nice play as the bot lane for TSM is roaming up, but Altec's chasing them here. Insanity going to get slowed by the Braum Q, so Altec now going to keep chasing in, but Treats stand behind Lost to get a bit of extra distance. Still, Potluck chasing in, does have the flash ready, and there's the Q landing. They might just go for it. There's the flash, actually follow flashed as well as Potluck thought he had time for the knockup, but Treats got out of there, but now Asleep is lost. No paddle style though ready because the cooldown's not low enough because they're still level 4. It's 4 minutes into the game.
Immortals, it's 4 minutes and they're already fishing for kills underneath the second turret in bottom lane. This is just how aggressive Immortals has to be to really make sure that they can try and grab this extra win to tie up the win-loss record between them and TSM. So now just showing that they have blood in their eyes, really looking for those kills, means that we're going to be in for quite a bout here.
Evolved obviously taking the wrong end of that trade as Insanity was able to find a dive, I believe solo, yeah, no assist anywhere. So Insanity just finishes off that kill 1v1 against someone with Cleanse and Flash Up is interesting, to say the least, but Evolved will be back to farming and probably going to be playing a little bit differently now.
Yeah, and so far, Potluck though, making sure he can clear out some vision and prepare Insanity for the worst if it arises. And you know what we wanted to see? Zoe get ahead, and Zoe stays very far ahead, especially with Evolved already down his summoners. But actually, Pilot saying hello, checking in on Spica, saying, hey, you okay? But no, actually, lost it.
Yeah, they're in there.
Seeing if they can find
Look
one.
over the wall again.
Oh,
No
boy.
interrupt this time as Braum will fall asleep, but Evolve going to try and cut him off of Potluck. No flash, but he's going to be able to get out of there just barely. Speaker, though, still chasing with the W speed. Again, needs to kind of catch up here. Speaker can maybe try and get it. Here's Dokla down as well. Pillar to interrupt perhaps. Does get the slow, and Dokla Q needs a little bit more, and that's a Lantern out from gate, roaming all the way from bottom lane, but will get his jungler out safely.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you are, the Thresh Lantern Express always has a stop near you, and is able to pick that one up and make sure that there's no way for the differential to really go in favor for TSM on that side. Haven't really checked in on top lane that much because, you know, it's a Gangplank and Ornn who really just want to play their 9-to-5 jobs and not really participate with each other whatsoever. Kind of reminds me on how draft went with playing for yourself and disregarding your opponent, but it is something that we had a lot of interaction on this bottom end, and around an Infernal Dragon as well is going to be very important to sort of get a massive burst of damage in this early to mid game stage.
I like the idea of, you know, Ornn as being a hardworking 9-to-5 kind of champ, because I feel like Gangplank, you know, they work the same company but maybe different departments, you know?
Yeah,
but
they definitely are.
But they're still just trying to, you know, farm it out, have different objectives at the end of the day because they may be serving different sectors, but certainly the early interaction, while there is a lot of trading, generally doesn't amount to too much, especially with Alorum having Grasp as well. But there's another bubble, Insanity. Not going to chase it up.
Yeah, you don't want to be dealing with that turret as well. I think Gate has reminded him that turrets definitely do exist at 7 minutes. And Alorum making sure that he can push out Dokla and stay up to par with farm. And you know how it is with these Gangplanks. It doesn't matter if you're on par with them in gold-wise and farming-wise, they're always going to have at least 100 or 200 more gold just because of how those Silver Serpents are able to gather up for them with that passive. It also means that the rest of the team is a little bit more inclined to have those upper hands against their laning opponents, which, as a matter of fact, Altec has been doing fairly well for himself, just sadly that first blood did go over to Lost on Misfortune.
Yeah, Treat's also staying very active, which I think is one of the reasons maybe that CS has tipped a bit in favor. He's actually still in mid lane here, but now asleep as Speaker, also launching it onto Insanity. No flash, but he does have the heal. GP ult down as well, and Speaker tries to get in there, but they cannot finish it off.
Yeah, I blame the minions on that one. You saw him sort of wiggling around there. Like, I was a little confused if he was going to be able to get that auto in, but decides not to, and they decide to back off. But they don't really gain anything from that. This is, again, this question of Academy of you make a play, you're looking for that advantage, but what is that true final goal? And for me, I think of, okay, if you get the mid lane pressure, you can go ward up the river and prepare for either Shelly or you prepare for Infernal Dragon here. But they didn't really do either. They didn't say, all right, we're going to draw back, we're going to grab, play some wards down, or we're going to clear some vision. They just made the aggressive play, and because nothing came out of it, they didn't follow through with what they were truly trying to grab. And now it just slows it down a little bit more to where Immortals continues to hold that vision dominance.
Yeah, certainly see if the teams do want to coalesce around an objective, particularly that first Drake or that first Rift Herald, which of course is also now available. For now though, it just seems like the teams are pretty content to farm things out. There's actually 2 calls on the map, one for IMTA and IMT, and one for Dokla in that top lane, so kind of as we expected, given again the styles of these teams and the position they have currently in the standings relative to each other. This is a slower early game so far, and I think that will continue, at least until that first team fight maybe around that objective. But even the first ones, I feel like they're going to get traded.
And for me as a viewer, when I see these calls pop up, I sort of get some Jat vibes saying, like, it's a worrying trend for me because it means the game's going to go longer. They're waiting for the investments, and it means they're totally fine with being passive. And that's really not what I want to see from Immortals and TSM. I want to see some action happening out, especially for Immortals, who, when you get to that level 6 power spike, I want some all-tech flash engagements with his tendrils. I want to see some catches here from Gate. Find some priority. Cut some vision out. You have that vision dominance. Make sure you blot out the eyes of TSM so they can just walk into you, and you have the tools to make those picks and make those plays.
Like right now, they are setting up for this Drake take here with Altec and Gate pushing the lane in. Zoe also having mid lane pushed out as the mid lanes battle with their blue buffs, and actually maybe even a dive as Potluck is going to get a ward over the top, but Speaker is there for any potential counterplay. But again, with the space opened up around the Drake, feels like the time is getting pretty close as Insanity taking some damage back and forth, but with the redemption he picked up off the ground that popped out of a balloon, doesn't seem like Zoe's going to be in too much trouble here. In fact, Speaker is expecting a dive, so just wasting some time as IMT will start this Drake.
Yeah, both of these teams have been expecting it, and this is exactly what they wanted. There you go, blot out that vision, prioritize this dragon, and they're able to take it no problem on this bottom side. So now with that one popping up, Cloud Dragon will be the next one available in 5 minutes. So they can go ahead and say, you know what, now we can divert our eyes to the top side. And one of those things as well that has sort of gone and faded away from favor is this transition of swapping your bottom side of your bot lane and your support to the top end to prioritize that neutral objective of Shelly now. But, you know, as a matter of fact, they say, you know what, let's bring back that tradition and push up Altec and Gate to this top side, and TSM says we have to answer this and swap it around.
Yep, I mean, they have the control for it to Immortals, so I like to see them being proactive around these objectives. Also of note, I believe that the next Drake being in Cloud does confirm the fact that all of the souls today have been either ocean or mountain.
Yes.
It's just,
That's pretty
just
impressive,
that kind of day,
honestly.
I guess. I mean, you mentioned how there felt like there were a lot of oceans, and certainly there've been quite a few oceans today.
Like, it's been like raining a lot apparently
Yeah,
in Summoner's Rift, and like, I don't know, it's cool I guess, but the thing is it just makes me want to just stay inside and just have some hot chocolate, and you know, honestly, that is the mood I'm definitely in right now. So I might be cooking up a pot here in just a moment, as you know, Immortal's actually cooking up a play.
Ooh, nice sleep there in onto the Trundle. Treats her with a block, but he's going to get flayed back into death as Potluck's able to finish off that kill. He's really good at securing kills, by the way, but he's Warrior Rex there, so that kind of makes sense. And with that pick, it should be the Herald as the easy pickup to follow.
Yeah, and TSM, they should be shaken in their boots right now because they have no priority on the map whatsoever. Not even on the bot lane, I would argue. Like, you had 2 turret plates fall earlier to Altec and Gate. A lot of that gold is now very much in favor of every single lane and every single matchup for Immortals. And you don't want this coming into week 9. This means that you're very much getting close to this tiebreaker that you'll eventually have to play. And if both of their performances go the same way as this week, you know, history does repeat itself. 1-1 TSM through every single week of Spring Split.
Yeah, could be a Gambit treat, so a nice knock up there into Insanity will force a flash. Exhaust also onto Altec, but they can't quite chase. There's a pushback though for a ball. Potluck pull it out of the way. Will ulti to try and buy a little bit more time, and off to safety he goes, with Gate having that Thresh Express still ready.
Yep, stop nearby you, and they're able to get him out, no problem. Alorum actually walking up, just seeing if Dokka's around, saying, okay, I don't want to make sure you're doing anything too suspicious. I can keep playing with you all day just to really have this side lane pressure and tempo online. Altec though, if you didn't have the Lantern there, you could have been in quite a troublesome spot as he was just trying to see if he could outplay the Trundle Pillar, but that one just having to calm, do the safe reset, and play it slow so far.
A really nice pillar from Speaker, but again, Gate is there with the safety, so nothing to really worry about as the gold is even at almost 14 minutes into the games. Not even the turret plates have really been aggressed on here. In fact, where did that first Herald even go? It has been used already. I guess top lane, because it's a tower with no plates.
Yeah, it was top side.
It
was a little bit like awkward because it sort of hit itself. Usually when Shelly pops up, she gets all eyes on her from every single team, and every single member, but no one really decided to look up there and just sort of faded out of existence for a little short while and decided to head back home. But another thing that sort of passed my mind is the fact that you have a 30 to 40 CS differential closing in between Evolved and Insanity. So it's something that is a little bit awkward for him because you look at Insanity and say, okay, you've been making plays, you've been finding picks, but is it really enough to argue your 30 CS down, and your power spike and your items might be coming in a lot later than you thought?
Yeah, I mean, Evolved after the oopsie in mid lane that got himself killed 1v1. Does seem like he's at least making sure to pick up that farm and does have a substantial lead, as you mentioned. Also, Immortals did finish off the last plate before it dropped off, so they actually got maximum value out of the top lane tower as well. It's a nice combo there for Lost using the ulti onto Altec, but once again, Gate ready with the Lantern means that a lot of these engagements don't amount to anything with Gate available to try and lift people out to safety.
Yeah, it's always the problem, especially when you have a Thresh going against a composition that really has no true go button, no real engagement. Like, you have the Trundle Pillar to sort of drag people into your death ball, but you don't have anything to directly bring either one person to you or you to them. So Thresh really does thrive and shine in those scenarios where there's always an avenue of disengagement and retreat. And speaking of which, I don't think Treats is actually going to be able to get out this one.
He had the Thresh this time around, but as the Braum, he's left alone, as Altec will finish him off.
Yeah, now you'll mean Windrake, Cloud Drake will be going over to Immortals once more, and Alorum seeing if he can do a good old bopping on to Dokla, trading blows between former players.
Yeah, I mean, despite the Triforce there for Dokla is finished, not really able to go toe-to-toe versus Alorum. Grass proc there for Dokla will keep up the pressure a little bit, but that Drake did indeed go over to IMT, so they'll pick up the first two, and it will be once again back to the ocean here.
80% chance of rain, and it's been raining almost every single time. This is honestly ridiculous for me. I think I'm all weathered out right now. Could use for a sunny day or an infernal map next time I boot up League of Legends, but
Somewhat sunny outside, which has also been a rarity here in LA, so...
It truly has, but you know, so far, hold on. Gate, a little bit of trouble.
Yeah, Treats again. Gotta get caught out of position. Potluck is down here. The stun does land onto the Thresh, but Treats already too low. What a great play there for Gate. Double stasis activated. Here comes Dokla to turn it back around, and Gate is finally gonna not be able to save any lives, or at least not his own, as Dokla flash Qs in to take down the second, and he'll get Altec. But now Alorum TP'd in. Lost is going to have to kite around here as Potluck also doing the dance, but the brushes keeping them safe. Potluck trying to re-aggress, but here comes Insanity looking for the Q, does nail it. And now Dokla trying to fight for his life, but here comes Speaker as Dokla going to make it an unofficial triple kill. Maybe going to get the unofficial Penta as Dokla creeping in, looking for a few more kills, but no more chase to be had. And Dokla, what a TP to save his team there.
That was such a great TP from Dokla. Oh my gosh, like I was looking at that fight and you're saying, okay, yeah, Immortals definitely should be able to get the kill here on the Lost, but then Treats' Unbreakable denied so much damage from Altec that it wasted enough time for Dokla to come swing on in, swoop, get that triple kill, and then after that it was just a bleeding line of members of Immortals trying to come in and sort of like scramble to retain some sense of reward out of that play, and unfortunately it never really came out the positive for Immortals, and TSM comes back with a reckoning with that 3 kills.
Yeah, Dokla set up to carry on the TSM side of the map. I mean, 3 kills, 2 items now done in under 18 minutes, and Essence Reaver and Triforce are expensive even for someone that prints money like GP. So, you know, we talked about Evolved, you know, being up in CS, but feeling kind of the pressure of Insanity in the 1v1 in side lanes, but hold that thought. Treats again, or always on the front line. He's going to get picked off here, but Speaker trying to take down Potluck. That Lantern is there, but not taken, as Rek'Sai is safe regardless. And another nice pick there for IMT.
Yeah, like I'm liking the picks is like when they work, like they've worked the majority of the time. Like that last one that happened bot lane, you can always call it a fluke. Potluck is definitely a fluke.
600 extra gold to the GP! Dokla is just bombing the enemy team right now.
Why would you go there though, Potluck? Like you could use that. You could use your Prey Seeker to just face check just to find out, but you know sometimes that overconfidence it just nips you real quick. And giving over that kill to Dokla is even worse news because I don't even know how much gold is in his pockets, but it's enough to buy a 3rd item if he wants.
Yeah,
truly.
Seems like it. And this Rift Herald also going to be given away. This is the thing Potluck was trying to protect, but then he face checked and gives it away to the opponent instead. Good GOP combo with the bubble there for Insanity. Treats, you better block. Does do so. So Evolve stays safe.
Yeah. Now, okay, so Lost and Speaker decide to move on to the top side, see if they can get some damage onto that turret, see if they can get a second turret under their belts for their team. Is now moving to the 20-minute mark. Baron going to be up soon. Dragon is going to be in about 90 seconds. So this does mean there's a lot of room to just set up your vision control prepare for another pick if you're Immortals, or on the side of TSM, do the same thing, but sort of keep Dokla on that sideline. Like, sort of prepare a safety net of vision so he's always in a confident spot, and then he can come in and help out with those fights around these objectives when the need arises.
I think that's counter push there as well from IMT. They basically trade the top outer turret for the mid outer turret, which is generally seen as a positive trade because of how important mid tower is to the map's geography. There's also that Drake you mentioned coming up in 45, so IMT will have a little bit more space to try and play around that. But that Herald is still up. Oh, there it is. It was pushed mid, and that is going to be the mid trade. So TSM continuing to trade very effectively. In fact, the gold evening back up, essentially. The towers are evening back up, and they'll have a Drake to Fightful here. That's really the only thing TSM kind of need to finish up here to right the ship and not let IMT snowball one of these objectives.
Yeah, tollway turrets are both open for these teams, and with Dragon now on the table, I'm looking at Dokla because he is fairly much all of TSM in entirety for not just damage, but for just pressure in general. Like, if Dokla is there, that is pretty much all of TSM being there as well, and Geek is seeing if he can sniff out anyone as well. Insanity does find the Sleepy Trouble bubble, and this is not something that TSM really wants to be in, especially with like an awkward scenario with the poke coming in from both a Varus and a Zoe. You just do not want to be here. You need to force a fight, but you don't have the tools because of the composition that you drafted.
Yeah, we've seen IMT, really play for picks, with a lot of their champions, the Thresh, the Zoe, the Varus, even the Rek'Sai can catch people out of position. TSM very much kind of need IMT to come to them. This has been a feature of TSM Academy's draft. Is Evolve going to get picked off here by Alora? I'm going to have to get out. Does Thatcher safety, but Gate finds Speaker on the other end of his fishing line, and that's going to be Speaker going down outside the Drake. But the Drake does go over as Dokla is able to finish it off. Now Treat's going to have to head for the hills as Lost is trying to help his support get out safely, but the Rek'Sai going to chase him over the wall and bring him closer to the team. Perhaps a double bad thing that Potluck can't follow up. Still, it's 2 kills for the Drake. That's the trade that IMT get.
Honestly, that is a valuable trade nonetheless, because yeah, sure, you lose the dragon, but it's just the first ocean dragon. It's not a problem, and you have absolute control of the map to boot. So deciding to come down to this Baron pit, you do have Altec who can tread fairly quickly. Zoe might have a little bit more trouble, but she will be able to zone whenever any of the members of TSM will come into play. She is fairly low on mana though, so she needs to eat up that honey fruit, then get back to zoning duty, because Dokla still does hurt.
He has no ulti though either, and they're just rushing down this Baron. I think they're going to get it. The jungler's not going to be able to get there in time. That is Baron over, and Alorum now going to have to get out of there, but gets snared up a little bit there, slowed by the Make It Rain as well, but the Lantern will keep him out safely, and TSM won't even get a single pick perhaps at the end of this Baron as Alorum flashes out to safety.
Yep, and right when they turn their eyes to see if they can find Insanity, Baron Empowered Recall gets him out just fine. And now all hands on deck for Immortals, going to be pushing it down into this mid lane, seeing if they can open up a little bit more and get that second turret. As 5-1 on Potluck. He's been able to secure so many kills with the Rek'Sai ultimate and just being in the right place at the right time. Sure, a little bit odd to say when he has face checked earlier today, but so far he's been playing out of his mind.
I feel like that's becoming Potluck's signature in Academy. Like, he loves Rek'Sai. I assume it's one of the champions that he's very comfortable on. And I feel like he always gets kills whenever he plays it, and he makes it work. Like, I can't remember what game it was, but there was a time where, like, I think the mid laner was like, Insanity was like, having an okay game, and Potluck just had so many kills. And you would think in a lot of situations that, like, that would be a bad thing. But Potluck actually surprisingly killed so many people that I think the enemy team forgot, like, how many kills and how much damage Rek'Sai can actually do when she builds damage items. So this is clearly something he's comfortable with, something the team is very well practiced with, and he may have 5 of the 8 kills the team has, but he's certainly making it work.
Honestly, like, every time I watch Immortals this season, it's something that it's like the hidden Potluck is the deadliest.
Yes.
Because he just, like, you never think he gets the kill, but his name just keeps popping up, and eventually you just forget about him and he just obliterates your entire team. So keep on pushing it here for Potluck as he's able to secure that turret as well for Immortals as they decide, let's go ahead, migrate up to this top lane and see if we can push Dokla off of it as well. With the Thresh Express, these transitions are a lot easier to execute.
Yeah, Varus and Zoe again with the Baron buff, just such good siege potential. So TSM is kind of left trying to protect these inhibitor turrets if they can. For now, it does seem like they'll be able to do it. And IMT will actually go back to base here. So I think they must be running low on Baron, or they feel like they can get back out to push maybe another one here. But a lot of damage done, a good gold lead built up from Immortals as a result. But at least they keep the inhibitor towers alive for now.
Yeah, at least they're keeping it. You know, just as long as your turtle shell is uncracked and is in decent condition, TSM doesn't have too much to worry about. Like, they have the wave clear from Dokla. Evolved also has some decent wave clear with his soldiers, and has the safety with the Banshee's Veil to boot. It's just a question on if Lost in Trees will continue to get caught out. Like, you're 1 in 6 conglomerately with this bottom lane. And they're looking actually to just try and force a fight somewhere, but Speaker's way caught.
Pollock just does so much damage. He's not going to burn the ulti this time. Yeah. Streets does block off the on ulti. But there's a Drake coming up in 55 seconds, so IMT happy to try and pick some fights here. Alorum, though, going to get out again. Gate always ready to save his teammates.
Okay, so now you actually have a little bit of pressure here for TSM because you're in the lane, you're just sitting in it, and you have at least a wave to threaten in this mid lane. But all Tech can say, they say, you know what, that's totally fine. We have the pushing power. That does mean the cannon barrage comes through. And so now it's a little bit on TSM's field right now because there's no members to help defend this siege for Immortals. Alorum does not have Call of the Forge God, and actually Immortals is trying to see if they can find a flank on TSM who retreats upwards.
Yeah, TSM are going to get the tier 2 tower, so nice map play overall to get themselves some gold. Good bubble though, landing long range onto Speaker, but Treats will stand by his jungler to make sure Zoe can't assassinate him. And looks like it's IMT's turn to counter push, so I'll run straight back down mid.
Yep, counter push. Ocean Dragon is available. They could say, you know what, let's just see what damage we can get done onto this inhibitor turret, and then call for a bait under this dragon. And as a matter of fact, they have enough damage to take it down. The inhibitor is now naked, which means the shell is cracked, and TSM has to see if they can find something.
What a pillar there from Speaker.
Nice pitch.
Alorum, though, is going to get back again. The Lantern now, Potluck diving into the backside. Under Evolve he goes, but they are going to keep him up. Shut down there as Lost is able to grab the jungler, and with the Drake up, that might be trouble for IMT, but they are going to run back towards the Ocean Drake. TSM looking low after the fight, despite getting a kill onto the Rek'Sai.
That was such a cool interaction there with Immortals, with Alorum and Gate. The fact that you got the pinch onto Alorum, he called in to Call of the Forge God, and you think that like Treats is in the clear and saying, all right, I don't need to use my ultimate. He's not going to be able to really be in a safe position to knock it back. And then Thresh Express all the way back, gives him more time on the ultimate, and then knocks it forward just to create that zone. It's very well played, but with the loss of Potluck, doesn't mean that they can fully invest, but at least they're able to get the dragon on the backside.
Yeah, I mean, IMT get what they want, you know. They may lose one, but they get the soul point now in their favor. TSM going to have to fight for every single Drake to not give that very precious Ocean Soul away. And IMT already got a Baron, and it was able to crack mid through all that play as well. So TSM still fighting, and the gold is actually quite close. I didn't realize it was barely 1,000 up
it's
for
still
IMT.
So close.
But
yeah,
this game is going to break pretty quickly if things go drastically wrong, especially for TSM with their base being a bit more exposed. So you can start to feel like the game is very preciously balanced at this stage.
And perfectly balanced as all things should be right now with this matchup, because like you look at the gold and you're like, okay, 1,000 gold ahead, that's nothing at this stage of 28 minutes. And then the next question is, okay, well, even if they're even economically, where is that gold lying? And it's lying on the right people. You want it on Rek'Sai's Potluck, you want it on Dokla's Gangplank, and even as well with Lost's Misfortune. So it's like it's all in the right places, which really makes this game so close between these two teams, because everyone has exactly what they need at this time, and it's just a question on how well the teams are going to be able to use it.
Still looking at Dokla for sure. Hasn't died yet. Worth 600 extra gold at this point. But did have to eat some oranges to get out from the bubble the Insanity did throw. So TSM, again, approaching this fight is really tricky. It's kind of up to like a pillar or maybe Treats' ulti, and that's about it to really get something started. But TSM have the damage if they can find the targets, so as long as they don't get poked out before a fight can really start, TSM definitely have avenues to win this game, but I don't know exactly how they're intending to execute with this comp, and it does seem like a tricky one to play. Again, TSM Academy, I feel like they just love to play comps like this, and I'm not exactly sure why. They seem very difficult to play well, but maybe they like the challenge. I don't know, but if they can find some free time, they can destroy fights very quickly. But that's the operative word, if.
Yeah, if is like a huge question. And it's really not the fact if they find picks, it's more of a fact if Immortals oversteps and comes into TSM, just like with an overextension or gets overly aggressive, because the TSM's draft is much more like a trap than it is an actual like cohesive unit, because it works, it's effective, but it needs outside influences to really make it work. So it's something where you have, like, you're left to where these Barons are uncontested because your team is not built around really forcing anything outside of Immortals saying, okay, well, maybe we overstepped here, we need to withdraw.
Yeah, I did actually like that look from TSM to begin with. Like, Dokla did get a tier 2 in bottom lane, so he's threatening the inhibitor tower now. I used his ulti to check the Baron and do a little bit of damage. Did have to use the TP though, which I think is ultimately what Immortals wanted, just to get the cooldown. But TSM think, hey, you know what? You're going to leave the area? We'll take it if you want to leave it.
They smell this, they have the TP ready. All the ultimates are available for this fight as TSM treats. He's trying to hold them off.
Just trying to keep him out. Don't get in the pit, TSM. They're actually going to get away with it. They rob the Baron away from Immortals, and Speaker is going to have to flash out to safety, but he does get out alive. TSM just sneaking that Baron away.
That was wonderfully played by TSM. You were talking about the pressure that Dokla was providing in that bottom side that the rest of Immortals had to answer. They withdrew. They said, you know what, we're losing too much life. We have to back out for now. And then immediately TSM says, okay, well, they're gone. We're here. Let's just take it now. We have the objective damage to really take care of it, because Evolve's Azir just tore through that no problem. It's the same with Dokla on the gangplank. So really all they need to do, but the flash engagement from Evolve means that one true go button from TSM is now offline.
Yeah, just Treats whose flash is coming back off cooldown. In fact, ultis in general need to come back for TSM, as Evolve did just use his. They at least get Insanity's flash out of the deal. But with this Drake up in 30 seconds, TSM pretty aware of what they need to be fighting for here. Of note, they cannot afford to give this 4th Drake over to Immortals, so I think they understand they need to be maintaining pressure here in the middle of the map.
Oh yeah, like if Immortals gets this Dragon Soul, it is so much more difficult for TSM to try and break through the defenses of Alorum and Potluck. And speaking of which, Alorum does get caught out a little bit with Insanity, seeing if he can help out with just a little bit of that zoning. And at this point, Immortals, I think, would be okay with losing this dragon, but the fact that it is that soul contention does make it a little bit of a sour aftertaste no matter what. So far, seeing if they can wiggle their way into this fight.
Oh, good GP ult as work, trying to cut off everyone else, but Alorum still tanking in the front line, does get stunned, but no follow-ups there, and he doesn't have a stone plate that he could have even popped, so he's actually going to stay pretty low for this next fight. But Insanity also stole a smite as Lost lets the ulti rip to try and zone them away, and they have started the Drake. There's a redemption there from Gate that's going to heal them back up, so TSM didn't get that much out of that actually.
No, they actually lost pressure here on this dragon, and now this is really the true fight.
Okla around, Alorum in the front side. The Drake does go over to Immortals, but will they win the fight? Doesn't look like it, as that's one dead already. Potluck is going to make it 2. How much more can TSM punish Immortals?
Yeah, TSM needs to punish them heavily right now. They actually have some minions on that mid lane turret, so they could look to take this one out and then possibly enable some super minions with destroying the inhibitor, while Immortals is constantly being wrangled and sort of shepherded away by Dokla, but he gets caught out.
Oh, he just gets a kill instantly, and now Treats leaping back in to save him. TSM actually might have enough space to try and win the game here. Treats and Dokla just trying to buy time. The Nexus going low. TSM Academy, I think they finally sprung the trap. Dokla, who said it needed to step up and carry, and he is doing that in a big way here. Treats again is there. They get the ace, and Gate can't make it back. TSM Academy, they're gonna win the game. A very dramatic finish, but a win nonetheless. The enemy had Dragon Soul, and TSM said, nah, it doesn't matter.
Oh my goodness. Dokla, you are insane this game. The fact that like everyone else on TSM really didn't have much of an impact until Lost was able to grab a couple kills here and there, but it was all Dokla's game. He made that TP, he got the triple kill, and from there he was able to really wrangle up and just sort of put Immortals where he wanted them at the specific times that he needed to. Like, a lot of it was very much Immortals' tempo. It was their presence. They were creating the movements that TSM had to answer to. But when they slipped up, it was immediately into Dokla's hands, and he was able to cause that chaos and really give TSM that win.
That was a wild game. Like, Dokla had one death in that entire game, and that death was traded for the Nexus, which is a very worthwhile trade for your first and only death of the game.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. If I could go in with those trades, I would take it every single time. But, you know, it just goes to show that, you know, TSM, they've had their on and offs, but this is also their first 2-0 week.
I mean,
pretty good.
It's going to get spicy. We ended week 8 in a very fun way, actually, with TSM. Kind of stealing the whole game away from Immortals, it felt like, at the end of it. But Cloud9's on top. Dig and EG are tied near the top of the standings. Like, we're going to have some stuff to resolve before we hit playoffs. With only 1 week left to play next week, week 9's probably going to be pretty spicy.
Oh, yeah. I'm very excited to see how week 9 is going to turn out because there might be a lot of tiebreakers to take care of next Friday.
Certainly may be, but that is going to do it for us here. Thank you for bearing with us through all these changes as we transition to a remote broadcast. Please continue to let us know how we can improve as we adjust. Now, on behalf of myself, Coco, and the entire remote broadcast crew, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for week 8 of the LCS.